Hi and welcome to the Adelaide Horror Podcast. It's your host Zombie Joe. Tonight's episode 8 and I'm going to be looking at Galactic Horror. So I'm reviewing 1997's Event Horrizon. So yesterday it celebrated in the US its 25-year anniversary of its release. We did get it 25 years ago, but we got it in January. So ours was a summer holiday release here in Australia. I remember seeing it at the cinemas with my mate, and it was pretty good. It shook us up. We enjoyed it, and then managed to actually own it on I think VHS at one stage, and then I lost it. I don't know where that went, but it was one of my purchases back in the day of taking your own copies home. The movie itself, unfortunately, kind of flopped back in 25 years ago. It wasn't accepted as it is now, which is a bit of a shame. I wouldn't go as far as saying it was a movie ahead of its time, but I think it was released now, the CG would have been better. I think would have been a far more of a blockbuster than 25 years ago. But having said that, things happen for a reason, and like I said, it's more accepted now than it was back then. It is what it is. What are you going to do? But yeah, that's just how it worked out. Event Horrizon was directed by Paul Anderson. We would know him from Alien vs Predator, Resident Evil, and Mortal Kombat, as he went on to direct those. It's an hour-and-a-half runtime, including credits. It was written by Paul Anderson, and he did Mutant Chronicles. The prop design, I've got to say, there's a bit of a nod to some H.R. Geiger stuff going on in that place. When I first sat down at the cinemas to watch this, if the quick cut scenes of blood and gore did freak me out, it was the actual ship on the inside when the rescue crew first lands and they're walking around this ship. I'm thinking to myself, holy moly! And so I've introduced a new term in the Adelaide Horror Podcast, and that's the heebie-jeebie scale. And the heebie-jeebie scale was going a bit off when they were walking around. It's such a cold, sinister looking cabin, and all the surrounding corridors inside this spaceship. And then as you get to the bridge, the stringy, veiny blood spray across one of the walls, like it was clearly somebody, and it was just kind of like these vines of blood in someone's veins. It looked really full on, and I was like, whoa, that kind of spooked me back then. But there was, when you go into the engine room of this ship, you start seeing it's lots of points. It's really sharp. It's cold. It's like the main colors are black and grey. It's steel spinning around, and it just looks designed to collect blood. Really, it's as someone mentions in the movie, it looks like a meat grinder. Well, that's literally what the kind of feel when you first look at it. You just really kind of like I said, the heebie-jeebie scale kind of goes off. So 25 years ago, this kind of shook me a little bit. I was 18 when this came out, so it was pretty much straight in my demographic. So it kind of rocked my little socks. Now, correction, I said it was actually a summer movie. I had my notes here, and I've realised it actually came out in October. So wouldn't say it was summertime for us. It was spring, almost summertime release. For us, it was in October, so it would have been actually perfect for us to head out and enjoy this for Halloween. But it was a bit too early, and like I said, Halloween's a real on and off kind of thing here in Australia. You either really like it or you just don't. And yeah, it's a slow grind, and it kind of sucks being a horror fan and wanting to celebrate Halloween. And you know, there's a lot of naysayers that don't want Halloween to happen, and they make it racial, and it's a bit ridiculous. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. So yeah, the budget for Event Horrizon was 60 million, and unfortunately it only grossed 26 globally, so that's why it kind of flopped. And like I said, if it was made, I think now the outcome would have been very different. But yeah. So yeah, cool. The cast was an amazing cast. Like, you had Sam Neill. Now, he plays Dr. William Ware. Now, he's the creator of the Event Horrizon, the ship mentioned in the movie title. Prior to this, he was known for Dead Calm, which is an Australian psychological thriller. I think Billy Zane's in that one. So he's in that. And he was also the professor, as we know, in Jurassic Park, but he was also another gentleman in a movie called The Mouth of Madness. Now, when I look at Sam Neill in this character as Dr. William Ware, he's pretty much the professor in Jurassic Park and the guy from Mouth of Madness woven together. Like, and he's tapped into both characters. And that's what I noticed. Even back then I noticed it. I was like, man, like, you know, holy shit. He's kind of, you know, he's slightly more arrogant than his professor character in Jurassic Park, even though he was kind of arrogant as well in that, but not full on. Like, you wanted to crack him. In this one here, you wanted to belt him. You know, his level of arrogance was quite high in this one. Made him disliked by the rescue crew almost immediately from the start, so that kind of created a lot of friction amongst the characters prior to them even entering the Event Horrizon. So that was, you know, good times. Lawrence Fishburne, I'll keep going. So Lawrence Fishburne, he's the captain, Captain Miller. He's got a rescue ship called the Lois and Clark. And if I said it quickly, I was almost going to say Lois and Clark, so in no relation to Superman. But yeah, Lewis and Clark. So this is the rescue ship that's been assigned to go out and get back in contact with the Event Horrizon, which is has reappeared after disappearing. So I'll get to that in a minute. Joey Richardson, he's a UK actor. You'd know him from The Patriot. He was also the Slytherin. All the Harry Potter people are screaming at me right now. Yeah, so he's Slytherin. Anyway, that's as far as I know. He had white hair. He was slicked back. He was the dad of the little shit from Harry Potter. I'm just going to leave it at that. So yeah, no Potterheads, don't go out and start cursing me, please. I apologise. Anyway, it was a good series. I liked it too. Kathleen Quinlan, she's a US actress. She's the med tech in this movie called Peters. She was in the movie The Doors and Apollo 13. Richard T. Jones, he's a African-American actor, and he plays Cooper, so he's kind of like the maintenance / soldier role. I think it was quite funny, even in the movie. Lawrence Fishburne's character, Captain Miller, even said, "What exactly do you do?" This, you know, like, it was quite fun. I thought that was quite funny that even the actors were saying, like, "What exactly do you do here?" Like, he's you know, he's a good-looking dude. He's cracking onto the girls. Like, that's pretty much what he's doing. You'd know him from the movie Kiss the Girls, but he was also in the movie it was Collateral and Phone Booth with Colin Farrell. He was also in Vantage Point. He was in Grey's Anatomy as well on TV, and Hawaii Five-0 and CSI. So he's been around a lot of the cop shows. Jack Noseworthy, he's a US actor. He's a youngish guy. He plays Justin the engineer. And he was in the movie Alive about the Argentinians that crashed into the Andes in the 80s and had to eat each other. It's not a horror movie. It was just a survival movie, and I don't mean full-blown horror cannibal apocalypse stuff. It was just, they cut little squares off someone's leg or something and ate the skin. That's what kept them alive. So yeah, it wasn't full-blown cannibal scenes, but it was a kind of a movie documentary of the actual event. But you would also know him from the movie Idle Hands, and that was a pretty decent horror movie, and it had cameos Offspring, the band Offspring at the time. So definitely check that one out. That was a good time. Jason Isaacs, he's a UK actor, and I've realised I've just mixed the two characters up here. Whoops. Joey Richardson actually is a girl. Whoops. Joey Richardson is the female actress, and she was in The Patriot and played the wife of Mel Gibson. Whoopsie toopsie. And Jason Isaacs is the dad of the little shit in Harry Potter. So that's whoops. Anyway, so he's the DJ, the medic, and that's not his DJ name. That's actually his name is DJ, and he's the medic. So yeah, I'm not trying to get all Flavor Flav on the characters' names. And he was in The Patriot. He played I think he's like a lieutenant or something of the cavalry or something. He was just a real nasty pasty in that one. Anyway, he's not nasty in this movie, so that's all good. We got Sean Pertwee. Now, we know him from Dog Soldiers, Howl, and Gotham. In a few episodes that I'll be coming up, Sean is going to be coming up in a lot of these movies, so I'll be referring to him a lot. He's the pilot of the Lois and Clark, and so that's the crew of the Lois and Clark, the rescue group that is now taking Sam Neill to the Event Horizon. So that's that. So the opening part of the movie, there's like a log of dates and years. So it starts off with 2015, and so it's the first established colony on the moon. We're not quite there yet. Still. 2032, there was commercial mining begins on Mars. So I'm looking forward to that. And 2040, the Event Horizon is created. So Dr. William Weir creates the Event Horizon, and the Event Horizon's mission, it's a deep space research ship, and it's basically, its goal is to locate and explore the boundaries of the solar system and deep space. And so in doing that, as it approaches near Neptune, it somehow goes poof and disappears. So that's kind of what's occurred there with the Event Horizon. So they basically achieved what they wanted. They just disappeared while doing it. And then in the credits it said this is the first recorded space disaster in history, and then it's got 2047 ... now. So we know that that's the year, that's our present year as viewers. That's where we're at. It's 2047, and there's kind of like this weird kind of thunderstorm happening in the middle of space, which is kind of odd. The portal is open and the Event Horizon comes tumbling out. Now the Event Horizon is, how do I describe it? It's almost rocking, similar shape to a Klingon ship, but not really. Like it's the long neck, the head at the front, the body at the back, the wingtips along the. It's kind of almost looks like an upside down crucifix, really, if you want to look at it that way in the shape. And then there's the big head thing at the front, which is menacing in itself because it almost looks like it has a chin, and this front forehead and the side bits hanging off. If you look at the cover art for Event Horizon, it gives you a really decent look at the actual ship itself. And what looks funny is when the actual name of Event Horizon's on there with lights, it looks like it's just stuck on there with Christmas lights and the freaking just a white bed sheet. Like, it looks a bit weird, but that's just how the metal looks. It's white metal with the thing. It's definitely not a drop sheet with Event Horizon written on it. But that's when you first look at it, you think, oh Jesus, it looks like Christmas lights. So anyway, and the ship's kind of spinning out of control, like it's just toppling over itself, which is really full on for a ship to do. And you wouldn't want to be in it while it's doing that. Like, it would be Chucksville for sure. And so yeah, it's mindlessly out of control, just spinning out of the thing. The lights are off, so you can tell it's kind of, you know, in a bit of peril. And this is where, now, 25 years ago, this was the CG that they were using, right? So it's a bit hit and miss, as you can understand. Like, they were just kind of getting their kind of grasps around it. And I mean, compared to the CG now, which isn't great either. Like, I've seen some CG now in a 2020 movie that's just shit. Like, and this is 25 years after this, and it's actually, the Event Horizon CG looks better than the 2020 CG. So, you know, you couldn't really get bogged down in the argument that the CG was bad, and that's why this movie was bad. So yeah, I'm not going to dig into that. It'll be a very long episode if I did that. So yeah, it kind of goes into you're kind of floating through the ship. Like, you go through the ship and you're floating through, and you see some pretty cool little, like a VHS tape spinning in the corridor, someone's watch, you know. And as you're going through, you go to the bridge, and someone is in a star, like the figure David on Da Vinci, like with the arms out and legs out, and they're spinning like the ship is spinning. And the camera is zooming closer and closer to it, and eventually it's someone with this sliced up, lacerated face screaming, and you go into the mouth, and that's the start of the kind of the movie. And we get introduced to Sam Neill that way, because he wakes up and it's like a dream. So is it a dream, or is it the ship calling him? This is the question, and that starts to unravel in the movie, and that gets explained a bit more. And that's kind of where, you know, that's where it heads. So that's when you get another really decent CG effect, which I thought was actually really good. And it was, so you're following Sam Neill through the corridors of the space station, which is above Earth. So you're looking out the window, you see Earth down the thing, and it's spinning. So that effect was really good. Like, so 25 years ago, that was not a bad effect to do. And then the camera kind of pans back and follows him going through the corridor, and then leaves out through the window of the space station and travels a bit to the right, and then zooms in, and you go through the front window, the front screens of the Lewis and Clark, and you have in a horseshoe shape, you have the characters. So you've got Captain Miller, you got Smith the pilot, you have Lieutenant Stark, and you have Justin all sitting around. And this is what I said before with in AHP, I referred to this as the ping pong dialogue. So this is where you kind of start to get to see everyone, you kind of learn a little bit about them, you learn about what's going on, and they do this little ping pong scene where they're talking amongst themselves, and Sam Neill's character comes in, and so basically what's happening is they've picked communications up with the Event Horizon. They've now going to go and take Sam Neill's character, Dr. Ware, to the ship, right? But they were all due to go on holiday before this happened, and then they got specifically picked to go and retrieve the ship. So they're not thrilled about it. The second thing that they're doubly not thrilled about is the fact that this thing has just reappeared near Neptune. Now, so for the characters in this movie and for the sake of the story, Neptune is an absolute shit zone to be in, because it's basically right at the end of the solar system. It's the furthest point. It's away from all help. It's away from all the other ships floating around in space, all manned by humans. And it's a real deep outpost. And that it's the last place they want to go to. And because this Event Horrizon, it's almost like a ghost ship. It's a modern day ghost ship for these guys. And so they're super spooked. So their heebie-jeebie level is very high. And they're just not keen to go. And so anyway, you know, for the sake of the movie and the story, they end up having to go. So off they go. And so that's basically it. So they all get into their cryogenic chambers to go to sleep, and they do, and they set up, and Sam Neill has a dreamscape, and then, you know, they all wake up and everyone's all good. And so they're having their coffee, they're getting their food in, you know, they're doing all that. And in the meantime, they ask Sam Neill, what's the deal? Tell us about it, like to Dr. Weir. So Dr. Weir kind of gives them this discussion. Now, a very condescending presentation, and I think that's why everyone's backs went immediately up, and they were like, this guy's a dick, right? And it basically, everyone after that is just got the shits on with Dr. Neil, with Dr. William Weir, and because Sam Neill does a great job in being a condescending prick in this thing. And he basically talks to them like they're stupid, and he grabs someone's centerfold, which, mind you, I've got to say, centerfolds in the future are shit, because the girl was clothed. I'm just like, that's not a centerfold, man. If that's the future, no, you're doing it wrong. So it basically grabs the centerfold, bends it up in half like that, sticks a pencil through it. This explanation of relativity has been done before. And yeah, so I've seen a similar presentation where someone's folded up before this movie. So then he starts the explanation and dumbs it down for everybody and says this is what's going on. So anyway, so that's kind of where the tension, like I said, starts with Dr. William Weir and the rest of the crew. So they are now approaching the ship, and they have a bit of a hard time connecting onto it, like, because it's, you know, like they have to grab onto some antennas and all that to you know, hook onto the ship properly. And Dr. Weir's already cracking it because they're cracking into the ship and they're damaging it, and he's like really agitated that they're doing it. So this is kind of when you start to say, hang on, is him and the ship kind of connected? Like, it's kind of a bit weird, and I'm not really spoiling it. Like, it's kind of just a question you have to ask yourself, because just the way it's just bizarre, like how he's acting. It's like, you know, when you pick up someone's dog, you know, they're very like, oh shit, like, you know, like, careful picking up my dog, or you know, something that's very a prized possession to them. So yeah, it's, anyway, so what happens is the Justin and Captain Miller and Lieutenant Stark, sorry, not Lieutenant Stark, the Med Peters go into the ship first, in through the ship. So they're the three that go in. Right, now what basically happens is, actually no, I'm going to stop there, because I'm not going to go any further, because you end up starting to spoil it without intentionally spoiling it. So if no one's seen Event Horrizon, I'm not going to go any further than that. This is pretty much the beginning of the descent, like from where the ship starts to do its thing and everyone kind of has to fight back against it. And there's a kind of a battle of wills and a battle of sanity, and yeah, this is where the kind of the horror kind of picks up from that. So I won't go any further than that. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to stop it there. I'm not going to go any further, because unfortunately you can't review the rest of the movie without spoiling it. So that's just where I'll stop. So you can see Event Horrizon on YouTube. So go onto YouTube, go Event Horrizon full movie, and you get it for free. So there you go. If you like it that much, then you could pretty much, for Australian viewers, you could go onto JB Hi-Fi and basically just see if it's available in store and pick it up or get it delivered. And good on you. Like, you. Personally, I liked it. IMDb gave it a 6. I give it an 8. I liked it even 25 years ago. I liked it. There's a particular quick cut scene. This movie really would have been R18, but because of certain scenes, they had to have these particular scenes cut so quick that you can hear what's going on, but you can't see it. But what you can see is so quick and so horrifying. You kind of get a gist of what's going down, but you don't see the full thing. And in a way, it's kind of good. But unfortunately, Curious George over here, when I rented it and brought it home, and I was able to pause and slow motion what was going on this particular footage that the rescue team found. Yeah, kind of wish I didn't. I was like, holy shit. It was pretty much, this is when it became the space version of Hellraiser. Like, and I was like, fuck. Like, it just, yeah, the heebie-jeebie straight out the ceiling at that point. That was insane. So it did its job. So that's why a lot of people like it now, and why it's getting a bit of a following now, and why people appreciate it for what it is now. So that's good. So look, if you haven't seen this, actually, you know what? It would be up to you whether you like it or not. But like, I liked it. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. It's a decent film. It's definitely not a first-time horror movie watcher. If you're watching horror for the first time, do not grab Event Horrizon. This is not for you. This is when you're a little bit horror movie battle-hardened, like to take this one. So yeah, it's definitely a decent movie. It stands alongside Alien and Aliens 2. It's kind of in the shadow off a bit, and hence why I'm reviewing it today instead of the two great space horror films of Alien and Aliens. Yeah, so hope you enjoy it, and go out and check it out. And like I said, you can get it for free on YouTube. So I mean, if you watch it and you don't like it, it's a free movie. You know, it is what it is. So cool. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Adelaide Horror Podcast. I'll be uploading soon episode 9, and yeah, so I hope you all out there are happy and mentally healthy and physically well. So cool, and keep it that way. And yeah, like I said, have a chat with me on Facebook if you want to, or there's also some other helplines you can get in contact with as well, depending on what country you're in. So yeah, cool. So until then, stay scary, and I'll see you in the crypt.